It looks like that last clip just stopped. Well, I'll just keep rolling. Okay, didn't mean to hit the button there. So I'm not going to say the same thing again because this is just continuing from that last video. But also, when we say apple is also a pole, and we're also looking at, like I was showing, the number symbol in Latin. Apple in Latin is malum, which I'll also get into the fig. Fig leaf was actually the first noted cloth, was the fig leaf. But there's two different versions of the A, where it's bad or apple. And when we look at also getting into the whole degrees and the parting of the symbol, so which is also going to get me into vibration, that tying in with the rib. But we talk about tying, we also look at Jesus. Equals 74. But also, like, I'm looking with these symbols. Yeah. And this gets really deep too, so I call this rhyming with renegade. So as we get into this, it's also going to get into Moses, dealing with that M and the parting of the sea. Red sea, not green sea, but here we go. And the crown chakra is actually magenta, which is the opposite of green and red. Is magenta, which is the crown chakra, which ties into this. So when we look at Ming too, with Dre, D-R-E, we can also see red. And then in Ming, we also see wing. As I'm erasing this, I want to get this out. Let's say Red Bull gives you wings. Now this is all tying into some things I've decoded with Solomon's knot. A lot of these symbols I have on my Insta channel is what it is. But I want to keep rocking with this, because here we see the D and the G. Which is degree. They can also be interpreted as Jedi, or we could also see degree. Now I'm going to tie this in, and we're going to get really deep with this. Because now when we look at the serpent is also like circle bent, as I'm looking at symbols. If we look at like circle bent, and then we look at the American English language, there's two different ways of looking at this. One, we could look at this as the apron. It's an apron. sitting cross-legged. You can see this as arms. But either way, we see the circle bent. We could see this as Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. This also ties into Solomon's knot, and also time, where we see tying the M. So here we can see not only words like matrix, just like I was showing you with Apple, you could play with the symbols, with the sounds, and we can see exert, aim. It's like a pulled back arrow, bow rather, with an arrow, or precision. Or we could also see awe as like open mouth, wide eye. All right, check it. That also ties me into the A and the 1. Because we know the A is the 1, just dealing with the different symbols. So with Latin, we also see nailed, nail, and then we see the T to the cross. And then we also know that the serpent ends in that letter T too. Alright, before I lose my train here too, also with that letter M, just like we see the caterpillar, we see metamorphosis. In metamorphosis, this is decoding Rome. This is decoding Rome's Piso, who wrote the New Testament. Rome's Piso math. This is just what speaks to me, so I see it pops out. Just like when you got your third eye open, it just goes more with like resonance of what speaks. Also in the 2-6, we can see the BF in the 2-6, the letter BF as in butterfly. (206) bones in the human body. BF, FB, flesh and bones. So this is a vibrating living language. Living language. And then there's other correspondences that gets to other words like pausos, things doing with words and sounds. Just as time, we can see emit. They say the only white star is the North Star, so I'm just going by what I heard. It's interesting that when you put the G in front of AMA, we got gamma, like gamma ray. Also dealing with that M. But also here, don't forget we also have that lowercase d2. So also dealing with that game board. Also in language, we also have gain, wish, and ang is also gang. You could look at gain, how we play with the letters, but then we can also see anguish. So we have opposites. Just because we can see similarities doesn't mean they're the same, and the different angles can have opposite effects. But what we can see is the relationships. It's like relay, shunning like a magnet to push away from, like a ship. Almost like a ship goes away from land to set sail. And it's like we look at adamant is a demand, where we also have between the two split D's. You can also look at like if that's a L, like light and darkness, like the L creates the D. And then we also kind of see the sundial. But I'll get more into my other notes there. But when we see that, like the sword from the stone, dealing with the name, lion's mane, which is also dealing with pride. And then when we got the Adam's rib, when we move that over, we got Andiv, endeavor, and Adam, endeavor, dealing with work. So we get into that, raising the bar. So also when we look at the center of the alphabet, like folded LMNO, also I'm getting into moving the angles around. We can see the 81. 81 not only is it like ha, like laughing, AH, like ah, like relief, but we also see vibration. And there we also see a swimming fish. A lot of stuff, you can see that as the spring, the coil, because we see that O and the L there too. There's a lot going on. So we know that a perfect 10 dive has no splash. So there's different ways I'm gonna tie that in with my notes that I have already written. But also when that B, F, I also see it as like the Baphomet pointing at different angles, just like the PH is also the F dealing with sound. And we also know the sound, fire is dealing with creation. There's also, we're getting into light and shadow. American Middle English also dealing with that aim. And then also we have that Adam and Eve. So I'm going to continue on with my other notes here. It's almost at that 15-minute mark, so this is just a test drive to get this presentation started. I will probably continue with a few more of these and maybe go live in the morning or later, we'll see. But I'm going to keep going with a couple more.